Alright, so this is Arthur and the Staff of Arbitrary Arrangement, which I love the name, by the way. It looks like it's kind of a voxel style, doesn't it? Or at the very least, the character is voxel. I just noticed that immediately. That's pretty cool. That's a nice style you got. The rest of it looks like your standard, at least it looks like your standard tile set affair, where it's just top-down tile set. I honestly don't know. But it could also be voxel, because voxel will mimic pixel style. Exactly, because it basically is 3D pixel style. So that's pretty awesome. So I love this glowing light effect going on right here. Really cool. It directs immediately what direction you're looking at firing in and everything. Very cool effect. I've always been a fan of the glowy pixel art style, as I like to call it, because I never came up with a better name. It really looks nice when you add lighting, realistic lighting effects to a pixel style. And the way I'm seeing these dynamic shadows and lighting going on right here, that indicates to me that this is all voxel style, actually, which is freaking awesome. So there it is. So there's my staff. I use it, I hit things, and I teleport to other places, and they teleport there too. And this can actually open up a lot of puzzle opportunities. But it also seems very game-breaking. So what happens if I hit an enemy? Yep, just changes place with the enemy. So realistically, I could always, because they seem like they're pretty standard zombie enemies. Yeah, they ain't too bright. So if I can just go ahead and get near a cliff or something, they'll probably walk right off it if I switch them. All right, let's do this. So I can probably switch with... No, if I switch with him, I'm going to hit the other one, obviously. All right, so a little punishing in terms of restarting all the way back there, but... Oh, it's procedurally generated, so I guess that's not much of an option. So that was really a mean procedural generation right there. Then again, I guess the way that they clump up, that's kind of to be expected how it would work. Oh, I almost fell off. But it's cool, I kind of blocked my path along the way. Oh, he's shooting arrows. Maybe I can switch places with him. Hopefully I don't switch places with an arrow by accident. So I don't know what the scoring is over here. I have 13, 14... Is that just time passing, or is that how far I'm moving? Yeah, it seems like it's how far I'm going vertically, which is an interesting scoring mechanic, actually, for a procedurally generated infinite game like this. So you can just keep going until you no longer can go. Kind of like that. The inclusion of arrow enemies was smart, because if it was just the zombies, it'd be way too easy to just trick them. No, the arrow enemies, they add a variety to the game, where you have to actually watch out for intelligent design of some sort. So it looks like I have 3 shots that charge up slowly over time. Very cool. Oh, so it's all technically 2D. The character is 7 layered sprites. So that's actually really cool. I've never seen something like that. It's just 7 layered sprites on top of each other. That's neat. Never heard of that. See, it seems to me this whole thing looks like a giant voxel art from the top down, which I kind of like. So it's a very simple game with no real goal in mind, but of course Ludum games tend to inherently be like that. They tend to, remember, these games are made in 48 hours or less, so, or 72 hours if you have a whole team and you're dedicated to doing the jam itself, but 48 hours or less is not a lot of time to come up with like an overarching goal in a linear design, so usually procedural generation is a good way to go to get a lot of stuff really quickly that can last forever potentially. So you're going to get a lot of arcade-style games where you have like a scoring system of some sort, just trying to see who can beat the better score. Of course, when you do procedural generation, score is a lot less meaningful because you could just get a really good run. So it's all in the eye of the beholder. Personally, I like procedural generation games, but I usually like it when they have an end. But of course, it's understandable that this game doesn't have an end from the appearance. If I were to give it some kind of an end, I don't know what I'd do with it. In fact, I don't even know. I would almost like to see depths to this game. Wow, words. I'm good at them. I would love to see, like, a standard roguelike affair where you have your depth meter. The further down you go, the higher that would be your higher score, basically. This is a very intuitive game, to say the least. You can immediately, after a few playthroughs, realize the best strategies of how to teleport around and stay safe, how to avoid enemies. It's really cool like that. So I would give the game like a solid 8 out of 10 for the graphical style, first of all, because it's very striking, but of course it's also very repetitive. There isn't much to it. But again, 48 hours, so you work with what you got. I really like the style of how these characters are done. If they're just layered sprites, that's really cool. It gives it a very cool voxel style. Technically that is voxel, I guess, when you think about it. It's just layered sprites, but even still. Very cool look. It was a good choice. Also a very quick one to create. The glowiness. I love the glowiness. I love the pixely glows. The dynamic lighting is awesome. No question. But again, it does get repetitive. The lighting is easily the saving grace of this game, because if it didn't have the lighting, let's face it, this game would look very bland. In terms of gameplay, I'd say there needs to be more. I like the general idea, and I can safely say that it does work very well. As I said, I'm already coming up with easy strategies on how to avoid certain things, how to get a little bit further, all that fun stuff. The scoring mechanic is smart because you don't have depth or anything like that, so instead just measure general distance. Oh, that missed. But I would like to see, the only thing that really makes this game hard, I would say, is probably the guys that shoot stuff. And that could easily be, like I'm just realizing I could have probably just hit a wall piece and then avoided the arrow. Granted, I'd moved to a random place, but one thing that would have been cool is if there was an easier way to gauge how much charge you have without having to look over here to see it. I wonder, does the light go out? No. If the light started... Oh, okay, there was a dude up there. If the light started to kind of fade out, the less charges you would have, you'd have a better idea without having to look over here just how many charges you have. So it'd be... Because I'm not looking over to the right. I'm looking dead center. I'm looking around me. It's important that I don't have to fixate on one particular thing. Scoring, that can stay there because, who cares? It doesn't really matter till the end anyway. But as for the actual conveyance of how much power you have left, it'd be good if you didn't have to stare over here rather to get an idea. But yeah, overall, the lighting, I gotta say, that is the biggest saving grace of this game. Graphically, I love this style. I've always loved the glowy pixel style, but look at that. Look at that shadow coming off of that zombie right there. That's freaking awesome. That's freaking mental. I love it. So, 10 out of 10, by which I meant 8 out of 10, because of what I said earlier on the graphical style. Gameplay, I'd give it maybe about a 4 out of 10. It works, but it gets repetitive and boring pretty quickly, and I don't know what you could do to add more. I think this game would honestly be better served as a puzzler rather than a procedural dungeon crawler of this sort. Granted, obviously, you want to kind of show off the use of a weapon in a different light, and this definitely works in that regard, but it doesn't really do much in the way of challenging me. I'm going to keep doing the same strategies over and over again until they stop working, basically. But with a game with a weapon like this, you could definitely create, some kind of a puzzler. I'd almost want to see, what if you started off with one charge? What if the further you got in the dungeon, you started finding treasure chests or something? They gave you a little more power to your staff. Wow, he's not brilliant. Yeah, I would love to see more in the gameplay department with this, because I understand that I'm just going to be getting a game about a guy with a staff that can randomly arrange things, but I don't know. I feel like there's more potential than just procedural dungeon crawling. Feels like a waste. Oh, crap. Switch with the arrow. That'll work. So you can switch with the arrow. Just gotta be quick about it. Overall, though, I like it. I thought I'd switch in time. I like it. It's just, again, it needs more, I think. The high scores are a very nice touch, I gotta say. But yeah, overall, it just needs more. That's about all I can say about it. The game is written in Java. It's using the libgdx framework. I'd recognize this framework anywhere. I spent a little time with it myself. But yeah, it's a good jumping off point. It just needs more. That's really all I can say about it right now. So with that, this is Arthur and the staff of Arbitrary Arrangement. Very cool start. I would love to see, honestly, just turn it into a puzzler. I like the idea of trying to do a procedural dungeon crawl with it, but now that you have more time on your hands, now that you can really use this to make anything, you could turn this into a kick-ass puzzler, even with the enemies and what kind of enemies could we make here? I mean, you got the standard running towards the enemies, you got the arrow shooters, somebody else with a staff maybe of arrangement or teleporting spells or something. I don't know. The sky is really the limit, but that's the same with every game when it starts off. So that's my thoughts. Just make it a puzzler and keep going. But once again, Arthur and the staff of Arbitrary Arrangement. Thanks a lot for presenting this game to us, RSCar, and good luck in the competition.